Same setback. Same room. Same potential. Different story. One mistake becomes an identity. The other becomes a lesson. One hears failure and freezes. The other hears feedback and adjusts. That is the difference. Not talent. Not luck. Mindset. Most people think mindset means staying positive, but mindset is really the meaning you attach to effort, failure, and time. A fixed mindset says your ability is mostly set, and every result is a verdict on who you are. A growth mindset says your ability can be built, and every result is information about what to improve. That sounds simple. But simple does not mean small. Because that one belief changes how you study, how you work, how you recover, and how long you stay in the game. Two people can start in the same place and still build completely different lives from this single mental difference. Give both people a hard task and the fixed mindset person feels threatened before the real work even begins. The challenge sounds like exposure. It feels like danger. If they struggle, they assume the struggle reveals a limit instead of developing a skill. So they protect their image before they protect their future. They choose what looks smart right now over what makes them stronger later. That is why fixed mindset people often avoid beginner moments. They want the reward of mastery without the awkward season of looking average. And that costs them more than they realize. Because every skill worth having asks you to be clumsy before you become clean. Every confident performer was once uncertain, slow, and visibly imperfect. Winners do not skip that stage. They survive it. Now look at the growth mindset person facing the same hard task. They still feel doubt. They still feel pressure. But they interpret discomfort differently. They do not say, "This is proof I am bad." They say, "This is proof I'm stretching." That shift sounds tiny, but it changes behavior immediately. Instead of retreating, they lean in long enough to learn the pattern. Instead of defending their pride, they defend their progress. Instead of asking, "How do I avoid looking weak?" they ask, "What does this moment want to teach me?" Here is the truth. The fixed mindset is obsessed with being seen as capable. The growth mindset is obsessed with becoming capable. Those are not the same goal. One chases appearance. The other builds substance. One needs quick proof. The other respects slow construction. That is why the fixed mindset often quits early and calls it being realistic. Really, it is emotional self-protection wearing the mask of logic. If the result might hurt their identity, they would rather not test themselves too deeply. That way, they can always tell themselves they could have done better if they really tried. That story protects the ego, but it keeps the life small. Growth mindset people make a different trade. They are willing to lose the image of effortless talent in exchange for actual growth. They do not need to look impressive on day 1. They want to become undeniable by day 100. That is maturity. That is power. That is how momentum is built. Think about someone learning to speak in public. A fixed mindset person gives one shaky presentation, hears their voice tremble, and decides they are not a natural speaker. A growth mindset person gives the same shaky presentation, watches the recording, and studies what to improve next time. Same nerves. Same bad first attempt. Different conclusion. Different future. The first person protects identity and stops. The second person trains identity and grows. Now think about the gym. A fixed mindset person misses a few lifts and thinks, "Maybe I am just not built for this." A growth mindset person misses a few lifts and thinks, "Good, now I know exactly where my current ceiling is." One sees limitation as destiny. The other sees limitation as a measurement. Measurements can change. Destinies feel permanent. Your interpretation decides whether you keep moving. The same pattern shows up in business. A rejected pitch can sound like humiliation to one person and useful market feedback to another. A slow month can sound like personal failure or like a signal to improve messaging, skill, and patience. The event is the same. The meaning is different. and meaning drives action. This is why mindset is not motivational wallpaper. It is operational. It affects what you attempt, what you repeat, and what you become known for over time. People with a fixed mindset often worship talent because talent lets them keep effort at a safe distance. If success belongs to the gifted, then struggle is shameful and effort feels like evidence of weakness. But winners understand something better. Effort is not proof that you are behind. Effort is the price of admission to a higher level. No serious builder is embarrassed by reps. No great athlete is ashamed of practice. No master performer thinks repetition is beneath them. They know repetition is what made them look natural in the first place. That is the trap of fixed thinking. It makes polished performance look effortless, then makes your own effort feel like a flaw. But the truth is brutal and freeing. What looks natural is usually trained. What looks gifted is usually refined. What looks easy is often the final layer, not the whole story. So here's the shift. Stop asking whether you have it. Start asking whether you are building it. That question alone changes your relationship with time. With a fixed mindset, time feels like a judge. Every week asks, "Are you good enough yet?" With a growth mindset, time feels like an ally. Every week asks, "What did you practice? What did you notice? And what improved?" One mindset makes you impatient because identity is on trial. The other makes you persistent because development is the mission. And persistence wins more often than early brilliance. A lot of people stay stuck because they confuse being a beginner with being incapable. Those are completely different realities. Being a beginner means you are in the first chapter. Being incapable means the book can never move. Most people call the first thing the second thing. Then they walk away from chapters they were fully capable of writing. That is not lack of potential. That is misinterpretation. The fixed mindset also hates feedback for a very specific reason. If results define identity, then feedback feels personal. Every correction sounds like disrespect. Every critique sounds like rejection. So instead of extracting value, they defend themselves from information that could actually sharpen them. Growth mindset people do something smarter. They separate who they are from what they produce today. That gives them room to improve without collapsing. They can say this attempt was weak without deciding that they are weak. That emotional separation is huge. It allows honesty without self-destruction. It allows correction without shame. It allows learning at speed. And speed matters. Because the person who can adapt fastest usually overtakes the person who needed to feel superior first. Here is another difference most people miss. A fixed mindset wants immediate validation. A growth mindset can tolerate delayed respect. That is why one person chases easy wins while another person trains for durable strength. Easy wins feel good. Durable strength changes your life. The fixed mindset asks, where can I look impressive quickly? The growth mindset asks, where can I become excellent eventually? One is built for applause. The other is built for results. And applause disappears faster than skill. This is also why comparison destroys people with a fixed mindset. Other people's success becomes a threat instead of a lesson. If talent is fixed, then somebody else's progress must mean less possibility for you. So jealousy grows. Defensiveness grows. Excuses grow. But with a growth mindset, another person's success can become evidence. It shows what repetition can build. It shows what standards look like. It gives you a reference point instead of a reason to shrink. Winners know how to study without worshiping. They can admire someone and still stay focused on their own lane. They do not say, "I will never be that good." They say, "Now I can see what is possible." That is a powerful reframe. And you can practice it immediately. When you fail, do not ask, "What is wrong with me?" Ask, "What skill was missing here?" When you feel slow, do not ask, "Maybe I am not made for this." Ask, "What part have I not trained enough yet?" When somebody corrects you, do not rush to protect your image. Stay still long enough to collect the useful part. When you see someone ahead of you, do not turn their progress into your excuse. Turn it into proof that growth has a process. This is how the mindset becomes practical, not as a slogan, as a daily filter. The language you use with yourself matters more than most people admit. If you keep saying, "I am just bad at this," your brain starts closing doors. It stops looking for strategy. It stops looking for patterns. It assumes the case is closed. But when you say, "I am not good at this yet," you leave the door open. That single word creates space for effort, repetition, and improvement. Yet is not magic. Yet is permission to continue. And continuation is where winners separate themselves. Not because they always feel confident, because they keep training after confidence disappears. That is another myth worth killing. Growth mindset does not mean you always believe in yourself. It means you believe skills respond to deliberate effort even when your emotions are messy. You do not need perfect confidence to practice. You need enough humility to keep showing up. You need enough discipline to stay through ugly reps. You need enough honesty to stop lying about why you quit. Sometimes the fixed mindset sounds like this: I need to find my passion first. I need to know I will be good before I commit. I need the perfect plan before I begin. All of that sounds thoughtful. Most of the time, it is fear negotiating with ambition. Growth mindset sounds different. Start before you feel elegant. Learn before you feel ready. Adjust before you feel certain. Keep moving while clarity catches up. That is how real confidence is formed. Not by waiting to feel powerful, by becoming more capable through action. If you want to know which mindset is running your life, look at your behavior after disappointment. That is where the truth shows up. Do you shut down, avoid, blame, and retreat into excuses? Or do you review, adapt, repeat, and return stronger? The comeback pattern reveals the mindset. Anybody can feel motivated on a winning day. The real test is what you do after an ordinary, frustrating, humbling one. That is where character gets built in private. And private character creates public results. So, if you want a simpler definition, here it is. A fixed mindset treats the current version of you like a final draft. A growth mindset treats the current version of you like a working document. One protects the page. The other keeps editing. One fears red marks. The other knows revision creates quality. That is how you need to see your life. As a verdict. As a draft under construction. Every day gives you more material. Every challenge gives you more data. Every mistake gives you more precision if your ego does not block the lesson. You do not need to become a different human overnight. You need to build a different relationship with effort, failure, and correction. Celebrate trying difficult things before you are praised for mastering them. Respect repetition before results arrive. Learn to stay steady when the first version looks rough. That is how winners think. Not because they were born with some secret mental advantage, because they learn not to turn temporary struggle into permanent identity. So the next time life exposes a weakness, do not panic. Good. Now you know where the work is. Now you know where growth can happen. Now you know which part of you is asking for training instead of judgment. That is not bad news. That is direction. And direction is powerful when you respect it. The fixed mindset says, "This is all I am." The growth mindset says, "This is where I start." Choose the voice that keeps you moving. Because the life you want will not be built by protecting your current limits. It will be built by challenging them, training through them, and outgrowing them. That is how winners think. And now you know how to think like one.